Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Happiness Anonymous Share Show, or should I say, the Happiness Anonymous Flair Show. My name is Jem. How are you? Throw into the comment section. Thank you for joining. But throw into the comment section who you are, why you're here, how you're doing, and we can make this a really communal thing. But hello, everybody, and welcome to the Share Show, the Flair Show. That is 2 days before the official Guy Fawks Day here in the UK. I've literally just been having a conversation with somebody about how they don't know what Guy Fawks is. So do also, just because I can't see myself or hear myself, if you can't hear me, whack something in the comments. Hopefully you can. Hello there, Aaron. Hello, Chris. How are you doing tonight? Hello there, Kev. It's so good to see you guys again. But we are 2 days away from Guy Fawkes Night here in the UK, back in the 1600s. Somebody correct me in the comments section if I'm wrong. There was a guy called Guy Fawkes. That was his nickname. That was his alias, and he created the gunpowder plot to blow up Parliament. Yep, he decided he was done and he was going to rebel and he was going to protest by blowing up Parliament. And although we definitely encourage rebellion, we definitely encourage the rights to protest, we definitely do not encourage, blowing things up. Thank you, Chris. In the comments, you've said that 1605. We've got the history buff here. But tonight, I really, really wanted to celebrate this idea of rebellion, this idea of protest, this idea of the changing seasons. Hence, usually here in the UK, apparently it's not a thing anymore. Apparently it's just a thing you do up north. On Guy Fawkes Day, you build yourself a guy. This is going to sound really morbid, but you build yourself a guy. You make yourself kind of like a scarecrow prop thing. You put it in a wheelbarrow, you put it in a little truck that you pull it around with you, and you take it to your neighborhood and you knock on the doors and you say, "Penny for a guy." And then your neighbors usually put a penny in your little barrel, and there you go. It's kind of like trick or treating, but with money. So this is leading me into saying that although tonight we really want to celebrate rebellion, we want to celebrate protest and the time of year, we are also doing it for a good cause. The Share Show is a fundraiser after all. And tonight we are raising funds for the Disaster Emergency Committee's Ukrainian Humanitarian Fund, right? DEC's Ukrainian Humanitarian Fund. You can go and look this up. There are some amazing things that they've done online, but they are essentially helping people who are being affected by the war in Ukraine. If you don't know about the war in Ukraine, please tell me which rock you are living under. But there is unfortunately a war going on in Ukraine. Lots of people are being displaced. Lots of people are moving around the world and not being able to pick up where they left, not really able to live a helpful life and a pleasant life. But we're here to be happy anonymously, and we're also here to raise funds. So I'm going to put into the comment section right now the place where you can donate. Now, any and every little penny that you can afford, a little penny for the guy, will help. So please do go over it. It's also justgiving.com/fundraising /HASS for Happiness Anonymous Share Show /Flair. So, --Flair. It's in the comment section. Do that. Get donating, and I'm going to stop rambling, and I'm going to introduce the very first share, which of course it's now become a tradition that we share not something that is necessarily visual, but it is something that comes from our resident, and she's now officially a resident DJ for the Share Show, Shannon. Shannon, her happiness, her love, one of her love languages is music. And so Shannon, for every Share Show, creates a playlist, and this playlist is going into the comments section right now. This playlist is on Spotify, and it is a wonderfully angry set of music. It's wonderful. Thank you, Aaron. I love my outfit too. And Chris, you've said someone has made a guy in the shape of Liz Truss and a lettuce. I love it. I love it. We're getting political already. Um, oh my gosh, somebody send me that as a photo. I need it on a t-shirt. Um, but we're going back. Shannon's share is all about music, and the music really, really kind of encompasses the rage of that would encourage a Liz Truss and a lettuce. But it is something that is fantastic. It encompasses rebellion. It's super fantastic. I've been listening to it to clean the house. I've been listening to it to organize firewood for a bonfire night this weekend, to celebrate the actual Guy Fawkes night. And yes, as a friend pointed out when I explained to her what Guy Fawkes is, the UK is brilliant at celebrating the downfall of their government. So yeah, I think that Liz Truss and Lettuce is doing that. So when you want to, when you can, click on that link and it will send you to Shannon's playlist. But now we are going on to another share. So this share comes from Hayden. Hayden is a poet who is British, but moved over to the US a little while ago. And I'm going to put it up on screen and I'm going to read it out to you because Hayden didn't really want to read it. So it goes, it's called Bonfires. And it says, "Let us set bonfires tonight and tell all evil it is endangered. Jack-o'-lanterns rot away like us, but its light, like us, flares on. Salt deteriorates and demons pass through, yet we fight away our darkness evermore. Demons' whispers, they swim like neurons inside, but we scream away the seas that drown. We thrice celebrate our dead, our monsters, our darkness. Before the winter begins and we start anew, evil exists and sometimes it reigns victorious, but still, with love, let us set bonfires tonight." I loved this poem when Hayden sent it to me. It made me so joyful because it so encompassed everything that made me want to do a show, a Happy Anonymous share show about this time of year. Not quite Halloween, not quite exactly winter yet, but something that is encapsulating this little bit between, this little bit of transition. And Hayden actually sent a little follow up and he says, "I did look up what Halloween meant. And one thing that came up was how the Celts of Britain and Ireland would celebrate Samhain for 3 days. They do still in Scotland. And then on November 1st, it would be considered a new year and winter begins. And I read that they set bonfires on hilltops to scare away evil. And it just gave me an image to create where we, in a natural or supernatural sense, use light, fire, and even positivity to frighten away anything that tries to consume us with evil and hate. And I think part of that comes from how things have been in the Western world lately, with us having to deal with people who want to censor others, spread lies to fuel hatred for their own gain, and just people being evil in general, both online and in person." That's what Hayden said to me. And I think that totally nails exactly why I think the spirit of this time of year is so important to us as a people, as a culture, and also to us mentally. To turn around and say, I'm going to take care of my mental health and I'm going to define a mental space for myself is an act of rebellion. It's an act of taking yourself back from the them. And so I wanted to open on Hayden's poem because it was absolutely beautiful. And Sarah, you're seeing it, and Chris, you're seeing it, and Paul, don't worry about not watching it live. If you can't watch this live, it's going to be on demand at the same link. So just come back to it. But also mainly, Paul, donate. That's why we're here. So please do donate. The link is in there. But we're going to move swiftly on to continue this theme of change, continue this theme of this change in seasons. So I wanted to, if you bear with me whilst I quickly throw together the tech side of things. This is a joy, isn't it? Share screen, that's what I'm looking for. Now, these are images that Ewan sent. Now, Ewan, ooh, there they are. Ewan sent through these images that he's recently captured on walks, and these are his shares. So we've got this beautiful tree. I am in absolute love of that sun and the little bit of flare that's happening over here on the camera. But that's my absolute nerdy content creator side speaking. And then we've got here the leaves fallen and this sort of sense of change, which is really, really beautiful. And then, of course, times changed, but with the sun still out. And I think that's the nice thing about this year, or at least this time of year. And Ewan says of this, when I pull up my notes, Ewan has said that Guy Fawkes season always reminds me of autumn and the cold walks at that time of year. And it brings me back to my hometown, but reminds me that there is still change. There's still beauty in change. So I absolutely love that. So thank you so much, Ewan. I absolutely love that. I'm also a really, really big fan of walks at this time of year. I don't really like them any other time of year. It's either too cold or too hot, and I get very Goldilocksy about it. Plus, go for a walk. It's a nice thing to do. We're going to move swiftly on. We're going to move on to a wonderful poem again. It's been very poemy with all of the submissions this time round, and I'm really, really excited because I'm not a poet. I can't do it, but I have lots of people around me that can. And this poem is from someone who sends in poems all the time, and also in the background sends me a lot of poetry, just as a sort of sense check whilst they're writing their various books, and they're in the audience tonight. So Aaron, please put the links to all of your poetry books in the comments. But this is a poem from Aaron.
October scares fade. As autumn temperatures take hold, we get the cold November rains. Explosions fill the night sky. All the colours you can think of and more. Choreographed displays, planned for days and days, can be over in the blink of an eye. Life is exactly the same. We must move with the seasons. We can't control them. The sky shows endless possibilities. Dreams vary like a spectrum of colours. A click of the fingers and best laid plans can come undone in a moment. We have to accept that change is inevitable.
I love that last line. Change is inevitable. And I'm going to take that as a segue from this beautiful thing to also just remind us that we're here to donate to people whose lives are changing currently and whose lives are changing without their control. I've put the link back into the comments again so that we can donate for people who are being displaced by the Ukrainian war. So do if you can. I know that it's tough times at the moment. And if not, if you can't spend a penny, if you can't give a penny to the guy with my hair, I washed it this morning and then I was just like, oh, I'm gonna put more stuff in it. And it was totally a waste of effort to wash my hair this morning. But it's totally worth it because this has given me far too much joy. But please, if you can't give a penny for a guy, please spread that link around. I will be accepting donations for this show up until the end of November because the more the merrier, frankly. Plus, all of these shares are very, very relevant to the things that we're doing all year round. And yeah, Sarah, I absolutely love that poem of Aaron's as well. But we're going to move on. We're going to start talking about the next share, which on my list is Tom. So I am going to pull it up right here and I'm going to share. Tom has shared with us before. Come on. There you go. Tom has shared with us before, and Tom is an amazing artist and somebody I've known since I was in my teens. And this show has kind of brought us back together and got us talking again, which is absolutely amazing. But Tom is one of the most versatile artists that I know and does everything from glass carving to drawing. It's just amazing. And Tom turned around and said, when I said something about fireworks, let's talk about fireworks this time of year. Fires, Guy Fawks. He sent me this, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just working on this. It's not much." When it shares, there you go. This is wood burning. It's pyrography. I struggle to say these words, but it's wood burning. So this is a piece of wood that Tom has taken a tool to and created. And I am a massive, massive goth at heart, so I think this is absolutely beautiful and wonderful. But I quite like the idea that we're talking about Guy Fawkes, and we're talking about beauty, and we're talking about beauty and change, and also it is the last few days been the Day of the Dead and the Days of the Dead. So thank you so much, Tom, for this absolute beautiful piece. Please tell me how much you want for it. I need it. I need it on my wall. Thank you. So now, Tom has surprised us. Tom has brought us this. But one of the things that I love about this time of year, one of the things that I love about bonfire night, and even just bonfires in general, because I'm a big fan of having a party or having people around and us going into the backyard with a fire pit, lighting the fire, getting around the fire, getting cozy, and telling stories. And that, for me, it's something that we've done since the dawn of our species. Story is what makes us human, in my opinion. And so I am so, so excited to say that tonight we've got a couple of really amazing stories. And they aren't short 2-minute things. They are something that you can settle in to and something that you can really enjoy. So I encourage you to sit back and totally enjoy this one. This story, I will tell you the title afterwards because I was explicitly told not to tell you the title, and I totally understand why. But this story comes from my father. It comes from Paul. So here you go. Sit back, relax. Let's get around our little metaphorical fire pits and let's have Paul tell us a story.
Poker is a very simple game to play and an almost impossible game to master. It's this perfect blend of fiendish simplicity and devilish complexity that makes it a game worth playing. With only a little oversimplification, what you should know before this story begins is this. During a hand of poker, when no action has happened by the time the choice gets to a player with cards still in play, they have two simple options. They can either bet, forcing everyone who acts after them to pay a price to stay in the hand, or they can check, handing the choice about the cost of staying in the game to the next player. Thank you for attending my short TED Talk. The other thing you should probably know before we begin is I'm the lead actor in this story, and it's all true. There is no real history of cards in my family. No, actually, this is in fact a lie. I seem to remember being taught at least the rudimentary rules of bridge as a child. I suspect that was my grand's jam. My nan and granddad on my mother's side absolutely loved a game of cribbage. I have literally no memory of the rules of bridge, with only the vaguest awareness of suits and bids and such like. I kind of half remember cribbage involves myriad combinations of 15 and something, something, and one for his hat. All this to say, for most of my adult life, we could safely add cards to the long list of things I didn't care enough about to attempt to learn, let alone master. For the record, that list includes crossword puzzles, chess, Sudoku, and pretty much all word games. I'm aware this might seem odd for someone who makes a reasonable living as, for a given value of both worlds, a professional writer. But, as the punishingly bad name of this anthology suggests, I pretty much can't spell and my grammar is really bad. All this changed in 2006 when I caught a wave and channel surfed onto the ESPN coverage of the World Series of Poker. This was the very zenith of a poker boom that began with a combination of whole card camera technology, online poker, and a bloke called, I kid you not, Moneymaker. In 2006, poker was more popular than at any time in history and briefly occupied a spot in the ever-changing cultural Venn marked cool but I never knowingly occupied that spot myself, and apart from watching and enjoying the movie Rounders, had no reason to go looking for evidence of this surging sport. That is, until I was killing time in my brother's retro flat in Norwood and surfed onto ESPN. In 2006 World Series, the 2006 World Series main event was, and I think remains, the biggest in history. The winner was to receive $12 million, and the field was filled with celebrities and what I was being breathlessly assured were the biggest, best, and most famous people in poker. It's kind of amazing to me now, but back then I hadn't even heard of Doyle Brunson, let alone the poker hand named after him, nor Kid Poker, the astonishing Daniel Negreanu, who would come out of the boom as perhaps the most long-lived of this OG generation. I'd also not yet come to loathe Man-Baby Phil Hellmuth or laugh at entertaining Madman Phil Lark. Indeed, back in those formative moments, I wasn't yet familiar with any of the Ellies, Mikes, Sammys, Dwans or Johnnies who would eventually come to mentor me, inspire me, and teach me how to play the game. The truth is, I'm not even sure why poker caught my eye in that moment, apart from the fact my eye was looking for something to catch. And I'm an absolute sucker for a good story. Whatever tune this siren song was playing, I ended up watching the full run of that season and railbirding in fascination as a relative novice called Jamie Gold ran like God and won the $12 million first prize. I then went on to watch him spectacularly throw it all away in televised high-stakes cash games, but that's a whole other, far more tragic story. For now, suffice to say, the 2006 World Series inspired me to download the rules, buy some cards, and arrange a home game to see if me and my mostly not cool friends could be as good, as bad, and as ugly as those folks in the main event. It wasn't for everyone, and I was really, really bad for a long time. But this was at last something I was sufficiently interested in to invest effort, energy, and a small pile of mostly my own cash to try and learn. Because this was the middle of the poker boom, I soon found a pub game in Rosebank. It's not super relevant, but it's fun to note that this game was owned and operated by the reprobate scions of two quite famous South Africans, a renowned broadcaster and a respected musician. I'm not sure if Matt and Henry's famous daddies knew their son's business was technically illegal, but I'm certain none of us gathered in that pub on a Tuesday and Thursday night cared one little bit. We all liked the challenge and loved it when we could use OPM, other people's money, to keep an accurate score. With over 100 players sometimes buying in and anteing up, this really did feel like it was a real game. I still remain quite terrible, one of those faces occupying a seat long enough to be noticed, but seldom long enough to count. But I was trying, and I was watching my mentors and instructors in every single YouTube clip and TV show I could find. I was happily investing time and paying my school fees for these bi-weekly lessons because the poker bug had bitten deep, burrowed in, and now demanded to be fed. Fast forward through something like 6 more venues, and the Tuesday and Thursday game was now run by the charming Matthew and the delightful Sam. Again, these details are not super relevant, but Matthew has that same effortless charm my brother always had, and no doubt leaves behind him an equally rich field of moist undergarments and shattered dreams. Like my son, Sam deep dives into the things he loves and sometimes drops into wiki robot mode, where he recites dense minutiae and details of dates, places, and times. It's utterly disarming and delightful, but I digress. By now, we were playing at the Codfather. In case you haven't guessed from the dad-level pun, this was a surprisingly impressive fish restaurant in Rivonia. I think it had 3 separate kitchens alongside several inside dining rooms and a lovely treed courtyard. The main building was a double-story thatched affair, and every Tuesday and Thursday night we sat opposite that thatch, safely ensconced in an upstairs private conferencing area large enough to take 6 or 7 full-size tables, and the full-size children gathered there to play. So this was the room where it happened, and I was right there on a Tuesday night when it happened. It was around 1:30 in the morning. The tournament was all done, and all that remained were we unhappy few, we band of losers, all hoping to win a few pots and get back to even at the cash table. With most of the players already gone and only a not quite full table to cater to, our physical needs were being attended by the thin, white, angular boy, his sister having left him to clean up after the tail-end Charlies. We were in mid-hand when elbows appeared at the top of the stairs that led outside and thence to the entrance of the main building. "There's a fire in the kitchen," he said. The many and various of us at the table expressed many and various shocked, surprised, and sort of interested sounds. Then we returned to the game as the angular kid hurried back down the stairs. I'm not proud of what happened next. Well, I sort of am, but in a degen sort of way, because I know that I'm not supposed to be. What happened next was we kept on playing. However, the recent visit of this ghost of Christmas burning had sufficient Faulty Towers energy that we at least started to consider the possibility that life existed beyond the immediate scope of flop, turn, and river. Truth is, long after such was legal and allowed, the room did have a slight whiff of smoke about it. Even so, our game continued for some uncounted moments before the thin white Duke appeared back at the top of the stairs. This time, he was naked from the waist up, coincidentally confirming his thin white status. The reason for this peacocking was the somewhat dramatic fact he now had tied his shirt around his face in the manner of a bandit, or let's be honest here, someone busy fighting a growing fire. I'm not sure if he actually said anything on this visit, but it was, for sure, a flying one. He dashed past the table filled with chips, cards, players, and broken dreams, and in seconds returned at similar speed, clutching a fire extinguisher to his chest like a basic training recruit. This is my weapon, this is my gun, this is for putting out fires, this is also for putting out fires. Thus armed and empowered, Stick Boy ran back into the gathering gloom. A fire, you say? A glance to the right through the frosted glass of our second-story eyrie revealed a flickering orange glow. A look out the window after the current hand was decided revealed and confirmed our apprentice Manuel was not wrong. There were now, in fact, flickering tongues of flames in the thatch of the main building. Those of us still at the table sat in wide-eyed silence for a long moment. "What are we going to do?" asked one of the late-night degenerates. "Well," said I, "I'm going to check." You think you love poker, but have you ever played in a burning building? As coincidence would have it, I'd already decided to tell this story in this anthology before Gemma announced her share show. It just so happened that what I wanted to write could, if you squint a bit, be plausibly considered to meet Gemma's brief. The truth is, at least half of the exam essays I wrote in English in high school were written in this same way, with one favourite story being shoehorned into 3 final exams at the end of 3 unpleasant school years. I decided to include this particular story here in a collection of fiction after attending a show by a producer showrunner I work with. Robbie Thorpe is a smart, insightful, funny and talented dude, and the last man I would expect to stand up in public and tell his life story to the world. But over 2 entirely different shows, that's just what he has done, and he's been charming, funny and even emotional in both shows. Robbie's second show was titled A Born Liar. In it, he explained how it is natural for a born storyteller to slowly shift and amend the stories they tell in response to audience reaction, with the result that even true stories end up being lies. He then went on to tell a set of stories that were funny, evocative, interesting, and true, but also obviously contained more than a few lies, or at the very least exaggerations and comic embellishments. These lies either turned tragedy or comedy, provided a dramatic punch. These lies either turned tragedy to comedy, provided a dramatic punch, or simply helped to land a callback joke that made the whole show feel like a carefully scripted set, not just a strangely compelling night, with a born liar and natural storyteller. So, back to my story. For the record, we stopped playing when we realized the flames were real and the forces of law and order and water redistribution would soon be uninvited guests at what was still technically an illegal game. The fire started because of embers left in a pizza oven. Like the alien of yore, it got into the floors and walls and from there into the thatch, and that was all she wrote. The main building of the Codfather was gutted, but the restaurant opened for business the following day using the remaining kitchens. We played our regular Thursday night game on the very same property in an alternative room. So in a way, everyone in the story checked that night, and everyone kind of won, for a very given value of the word. Inasmuch as my memory can actually be trusted, and allowing for the fact I have told it many times and no doubt had my own telling unconsciously influenced by each reception, this story is as true as I can make it. This is pretty much what happened on that night in every regard and respect. But I will own to this. I wasn't smart enough, funny enough, or sufficiently filled with bravado to say that last line. That was l'esprit d'escalier, and is the absolute lie that makes this totally true story worth telling.
There you go. The first story of the night. I'm so glad that I was muted because I laughed so hard again at just the idea that my father shoehorned stories into essays, and the fact that I did that as well, and that was never on a tip from But yes, I am the spawn of a man who played poker in a burning building. Welcome to the Happiness Anonymous share show. How are we all today? How are we actually doing? I want again to sit there and say, okay, let's do a check-in. How is everybody doing? Throw into the comment section how you're doing, what you thought about that show. Have you ever played poker in a burning building? Very much makes me remember all of those times people have said, oh, when the alarm goes off, react, don't just think that it's fake, because I definitely would have thought that that was fake. But whilst we're checking in on you, hello Tom. I'm glad that you're doing great, Kev. So glad to hear that all of you guys are happy and healthy and doing well. But let's also check in to see that hopefully the state of the donations, which the link is here. Let's see. Let's all start a little bit of a drum roll to see if the state of the donations is also happy and healthy and really great. So we're going to go over to here. We're going to hit refresh. Oh, whoa! I put a target of £100 because a nice round number. And we're already on £80, everybody. Well done. Thank you so much, so much to Dodgy Cam, aka Paul. Thank you. You listened to my little tip. Maybe I just need to sit on here for an hour and just bully you all into giving money like I did my dad. And also to Anonymous. I like it. I like it when there's anonymous donations. It feels very, very much Happiness Anonymous. So thank you for bringing us happiness anonymously. One day I'll make that into an actual pun joke, but I'm not yet enough of a dad or the age that I can make those kinds of dad jokes. But thank you so much, everybody. We are on £80 of £100. If we can smash that target, we will be making a lot of people really, really happy, and we will be contributing back to help those who had the carpet pulled out from underneath them, frankly, because that's kind of what happens when an egomaniac, we're not getting political. We're not getting political, are we? No, what we are doing, however, is getting magical with our next share. I love magic. If any of you have seen the previous share shows, or indeed seen me at magic shows, especially lately, usually they say that like magic is for kids and that you really love it as a kid, and as you get older you love it less and less. Mine's in reverse. As a kid I was always trying to figure it out. As an adult now I'm just like, you're a wizard, it's amazing. And I absolutely love magic. And our next share is a little bit of magic coming from the absolute, the wonderful Sam. Sam has sent some magic in to other shares before, to share shows before. I am going to definitely mute myself the second that this starts playing because I still don't know how he's done it. And oh, you're getting good, Sam. Not even getting, you are good. But here you go. Here's a little bit of fire-based magic-ish from Sam. move. It never feels great when it's on video, but he made it move and then made it open. Oh, thank you, Sam. You bring magic to every share show. You bring magic into the world, and why would anybody want to do anything else? Thank you so much. And also, I missed out Sam's intro that you wanted me to say, but he wanted me to talk to you about saying, be prepared for a spooky take on Bonfire Night. Guy Fawkes's ghost is present in the haunted matchbox, and that's his illusion. I love that. And I love that we've got something a little spooky, and that's talking about the spookiness of this season. And I have the spirit of a goth. I adore bonfires, and I'm ginger. It's the color orange. This is my favorite time of year, increasingly so, despite the fact that it's getting colder. That's the only negative I can think of. But speaking of this time of year, here in the UK, at this time of year, the clocks go back. It's very confusing, but mainly it starts getting dark a lot earlier. None of us like it. I'm going to be honest. None of us like it. But one of the good things about it getting darker earlier, and it's something that I discovered years ago. I was living on the seafront of Wales. I was living in Aberystwyth. I was at university there. And I, of course, being a university student, didn't really like being away from my parents. Everything was changing. Mental health, mental health, mental health. And then the nights started getting darker. And it started getting darker earlier. And I thought, well, where's the light in this? Where's the joy in this? And yes, there you go, Sarah. Woo, Aberystwyth. I still pronounce it pretty okay. But one of the things that I started to love and started to realize was happening, and I would go out nearly every night to watch them, is on the seafront of Aberystwyth, on the pier, and on the walkways along the sea. So you're hearing the crashing waves. You'd see in the distance all of these sparks, and you'd be like, what is that? Right? And you'd walk along the seafront towards these sparks, and you'd realize that there was a whole group of people in Aberystwyth who'd go to the seafront and they would fire spin. And they would do all of these tricks with fire. And it was absolutely beautiful and mind-boggling. And of course, people came out in their droves to see them. Photographers were there. And I'm so excited to share that one of the people that actually I saw at this time, they have sent in pictures of them. Now, they are small, so you might have to look quite close to the screen. They have sent in photos of them fire tumbling, fire throwing. So this is Bryony. Now, this is a photo by the wonderful late Keith Morris, and this is Bryony on the seafront of Aberystwyth, twirling fire. And literally, these are strings with fire attached to the end of it. How can you get more Guy Fawkes than that? So we'll go over to here. Again, this is another fire twirling. And this is also happening quite, it's getting cold. But of course, the nice thing about these, the fire twirlers, is that they were giving off quite a lot of heat. So it also made it easier for us to stand for hours. We've got here some fire twirling. There's baton fire twirling, as well as massive big plumes of fire. I'm so glad that I never had to do any risk assessments for this, and I am appalled that that is where my brain goes to. But thank you so much, Bryony, for sharing not only these pictures of you doing amazing things with fire that I would never in my ever think or try or attempt to do, because I'm accident prone. Maybe that's why I keep thinking of risk assessments. But thank you for sharing those. Thank you for sharing some fire magic with us, but also thank you for bringing back that memory. I really enjoyed sitting and remembering that and thinking about that. And yes, so Chris, I also miss ABBA most of the time. Not all of the time. Sometimes I'm like, oh, not being a student is amazing. And Aaron, you've only been to Aberystwyth once, but had a great time, and everyone put on a great show. That's sort of that very much sums up Aberystwyth. And yes, Kev, I agree. Fire good. Fire good in most ways. But another thing, now we're going to go from fire throwing to a little bit of an abstract thing, because I'm going to sort of veer us off course to bring us back, because Tom, remember Tom with the fire drawn skull and beautiful butterflies? Tom also sent me something in the same breath. There is another piece of his artwork that I really, really want to share. And he said that he wanted to share it as well because this animal always reminds him of fire. And so I want to share with you. I can't just open the file. That's not how technology works, Gemma. I want to share with you this. This is glass that has been etched to look like a very, very beautiful tiger. And I totally agree that it's a very tenuous link back to fire and fireworks and all of the above, but I love sharing people's art. I love sharing things that people make. And Tom made this. And in fact, yeah, I know, Kev, I can see you in the comments going, ooh, I'm going to add to that ooh. I'm going to add to that ooh, right? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because Tom also, because I was like, this is just insane. I can't believe that you do this. Tom also sent through this. It's a how-to. I apologize to anybody who's like ASMR sensitive and or dislikes the dentist because that's what that sound reminded me of. But if you're like me who spends their time on TikTok just watching videos of people making things, you really enjoyed that. And I think, as Chris, you've just totally found the absolute link, is that glass is born in fire. I like your phrasing of that. Thank you so much. Yes, glass is born in fire. We need sand and fire equal glass. And I can thoroughly recommend the Glass Blowers Challenge that's on Netflix. We're not sponsored, but it's a really amazing thing to watch if you're interested in art and glass. But thank you so much, Tom. I'm in absolute awe of your skill, and you keep improving, and please keep sending things like this because it's wonderful and it's beautiful. And I don't know how you manage to sit there and figure out where to put all of these lines to make something look so beautiful and look like an actual tiger. So thank you so much for sharing that. But we are going to do, before we move on to the next chapter, because I've kind of chaptered this show. There's another link. Let's see. Have we done any more on the donation front? No, we have not. That's all right. This the donation link that's just gone into the comment section, and that's also in the description of this video if you're watching it in the future. Donations are open. I'm keeping them open until the end of November, because I also know that, especially in a time where the war is also in Ukraine is also affecting the rest of the world, sometimes we don't have money just to drop like that. Sometimes we need to gather something, and that's totally fine as well. Taking your time in order to create something, in order to give something, in order to find the capacity to help is also entirely valid. And it's also, we're in a time of change, and that's totally fine. So thank you, everybody who's donated already. Keep donating. The link is there. I'm not going to let you forget about it. And we are going to move on to another poem. Now, I can see that they are in the audience, they're watching this, and I'm so glad that they sent this to me. because I think the vocal performance is absolutely amazing. Never mind the poem. But this poem is going to introduce us to the new themes, the new things to discuss about Guy Fawkes. We've kind of touched on them at the beginning, and I've run away from them since. But this is a wonderful, wonderful poem from the fantastic Chris.
Gone are the days of endless light. We welcome the call of beckoning night. As 1 month closes, the spirit rises, and the darkest creatures forgo their guises. These cryptic beings of old myth begin the chant of the dark queen Lilith. O mother of monsters, hear our call in these darkest nights of fall. Before the moon does wane and weep, our shadows will march and creep. Beyond the witching hour we follow towards the sacred Judas hollow, whereupon our chant shall end, and to the depths of hell we shall descend. One spirit is left behind, for his role has been assigned. 5 more days his spirit lingers, his role defined by history's pointing fingers. He will watch as we scorch the earth, his face alight with constant mirth. We light the flame he failed to light, and watch it burn into the night. So remember, remember, the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. I see no reason why Guy Fawkes' treason should ever be forgot.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And let this be a lesson to, if you are a poet, if you are anybody who ever creates something and you are nervous about speaking it yourself. My dad brought an amazing voice and cadence to how he spoke his own words. And Chris, ooh, I agree, Tom. I also got a tingle on my neck listening to that, and I loved it. And I've just listened to it on repeat because I think it's wonderful, and it's spooky, and it's dark, and it's yes. Thank you. I love it. And it is introducing us to this idea of rebellion, to this idea of the darkness and of Lilith, and all of these things revolving around the truth of Guy Fawkes. And yes, there is a truth in saying that the UK celebrates, somebody trying to blow up Parliament. And unsuccessfully doing it so. I don't know if I've mentioned that. He was unsuccessful. It's why we still have Big Ben where we have Big Ben, I'm pretty sure. But we also do revere people who turn around and decide to at least speak out. But we're also Happiness Anonymous. Now, before I take the words out of her mouth, our next sharer totally said it so much better than I can. Said this link between our own brains and this idea of rebellion so much better than I can. And so the next share is from the wonderful Sarah. And here you go. It's awesome.
Rebellion. Rebellion is in allowing your mind to listen to its thoughts, taking stock of its incessant self-wounding, letting yourself be vulnerable in a world of girl boss hustle and go, I said go. Stop. Rebellion like a roar in your soul, crying out for change, screaming out for a kinder system, a better government, more empathy among our leaders, while women expose their hair in brave rebellion against despotic leaders, against the tyrannical. You feel a sense of awe and hope, just hope, that change is possible. But feeling helpless, knowing you're not doing enough while our leaders, with the power to do something, ignore, sit, gamble, scoff, and build back weaker. Reader, notice in your rebellion the dappled specks on the leaves while the world around you burns. Sit in silence, even though your ears still ring from that Beyonce concert 10 years ago. Worth it. Be open in a world of obscurity. Own up to fucking up. Rebellion is outright preaching, I'm not broken. My soul is weighted with the anxious state of the nation. Can't people just think? Rebellion is not listening to a mind which tells you you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? They're lying, you know. They don't believe you. Listen to that sense of broken trust and callous cruelty. That's how people really are. refute it. So sit in bed with candles and prayers, Queer Eye and JVN letting us know to just breathe, honey. It will pass. Notice the dappled specks on the leaves. Turn the fire into burning candles when you need to. Let it settle before stoking back up. To rebel, dear reader, let the thoughts pass. See them for what they are. Get the fuck back up off the floor. Hope and fight.
She nails it. She nails it. Sarah is so good at thinking and so good at turning those thinkings into words. And very much when I thought I don't want to do a Halloween share show again, or at least not this year. And I'm more interested this year in Bonfire Night. I did very much sit there and think, well, how can we make Bonfire Night about happiness? How can we make Bonfire Night about mental health and the fight for mental health? And Sarah really, really captured, without even a conversation between the two of us, just Sarah really captured this idea that not only is taking care of our brains an act of rebellion and an act of defiance and an act of taking it back, but also sometimes we've got to let it ebb and flow. We've got to let our sense of everything wibble and wobble like that little flame of a candle. So thank you so much, Sarah. And can you tell I've been listening to Taylor Swift's Midnight non-stop, says Sarah in the comments. I've not actually listened to Taylor Swift's Midnight. I've heard it's very good. Maybe I should. Maybe I'll be enlightened, and then I can turn around and say Taylor Swift enlightened me. But thanks for the recommend as well. And thank you so much for the poem, Sarah. I love it. I absolutely love it. And we're going to go straight into another poem, which is from Jen. And actually, Jen sent this to me literally like an hour before the share show. And it reminded me of the joy of doing this share show, because it can literally it can just happen. And we can sort of sit there and go, oh, is it too late? No. You know what? Because we are in control. We are in control of what we're doing. And I can just go, yeah, sure, we're going with the flow. So this is Jen's poem. She didn't get to record it. She's asked me to read it. So hopefully I don't stutter too much. I'm going to take a sip of water. Yes, I have a 2-liter water bottle. It's the only way to stay hydrated. We are elaborate pot plants. Right, so Jen's poem. Fires flickering and glowing. The smell of smoke pouring into everything. The holiday of rebellion. Guy revolting, teens staying out late, kids eating too many toffee apples, left over from the bobbing apples of yesterday. Scarves billowing in the biting wind, gloves rubbing together, breath visible and escaping the glove cove. The anticipation is almost tangible. Excited screams as loud as the ride's music. Fireworks only beaten in brightness by the fair's flashing lights. Muddy shoes as you scramble to follow your family and friends through the crowds of the park. Despite the cold and the historic, the warmth of the memories seep in, like the bonfire itself, with the effigy atop. I love this little poem. I think it totally captures the sense and the spirit of this time of year. There are so many fairs, there are so many festivals, and as much as we can complain about the nights coming in sooner and faster and harder, it also means that we can have a little bit more spooky. We can play with the lights. So, speaking of playing with the lights, getting back to this idea of telling stories around the bonfire, we have tonight's second story. And tonight's second story, again, it's one that we're all wanting to sit back and relax and enjoy. Tonight's second story is coming to us from Kev. Kev has shared with us on the Share Show before, and Kev has this amazing ability and ability to bring and also interest in Egyptian mythology and everything mystical in the Egyptian way. And every time I hear Kev doing a storytelling session and Kev really does, he does storytelling sessions all over the country. It's super exciting. I'm so happy for him. Every time I hear stories from Kev, I learn something, and I'm super, super intrigued by the angle that he takes into stories. So here is a story from Kev. Sit back, relax, get the popcorn, enjoy.
Powder, treason, and plot should never be forgot. That's how it goes. Or something like that, anyway. And while various people and organizations and authorities would like us to forget, we don't. Unfortunately, we weren't that successful once upon a time. A papyrus was discovered in probably early part of last century, maybe the previous. It was carefully cut into 4 pieces and found at the bottom of a refuse dump in the Ramesseum. And what it showed was something that the authorities at the time, 3,500 years ago, did successfully ensure was forgotten until then. I shall do a little dramatization of my interpretation of this amazing piece of court transcript. Is one of many possible interpretations, I might add, but it's the one I quite like. It is known as the harem conspiracy of Ramesses III. Pharaoh must die. Those were the words that Queen Tia, second wife to Ramesses III, threw across the room to Pebenum, chief of the harem. He was nervous. Those words were treason. But he was willing to hear her out. Tia elaborated. He's the king. The great Ramesses III follows his father, the great king. But he is nowhere near as great. Egypt crumbles. We have invasions in the north. We have famine, bringing striking of the workers. That is unheard of. We will have civil war soon if this is not resolved. He needs to go now. Even his heir with his first wife, Queen Tai, I feel will only continue this corruption of a dynasty. We need a new dynasty. My son, for example, should sit upon the throne. And I have a solution. Pebenum leans in. She withdraws from her pouch on her lap wax dolls. I learnt these from a woman I had smuggled into the palace. She was old, but wise in the ways of magic. With these dolls, we can control all the guards, all the officials. Nothing will stand in our way, and the king will die. Pebenum knew the risk, but he had to agree this was a high risk, but worth it for the greatness of Egypt, and of course, what was in it for him. Vizier. That'll be a bump up from head of the harem. He agrees, and Tia gives him the orders to spread these dolls around the court, for he has clear access to the whole palace, whereas she, even though she is a minor queen, is always watched. But Pebenham can go anywhere. Well, he whispers in ears. The dolls are spread out, and tension rises within the court. The magic is worked. Courtiers, officials easily slip in to the conspiracy against the king. And on the fateful day, Pebenham returns to the bedchamber of Queen Tia, and they sit alone and await the assassin's blade. On the other side of the palace, Queen Tai, first wife, great royal wife of Ramesses III, paces her bedchamber. She senses there is danger in the air, and suddenly she is drawn to a chest that sits upon the side of the wall. Opening it, she stares in and withdraws the broken parts of another wax doll. This time the wax doll is of Pharaoh. She holds the broken parts and nods to herself. It has begun. Carefully, she places the wax doll back into the chest and closes it before calling and summoning her bodyguard from outside. She confirms with this burly, sword-wielding, huge man, have I the loyalty of the guard? He nods. Double the guard, treble the guard. Pharaoh's life is in danger this night. Be on alert. Well, Pebenham and Tia sit anxiously within their chamber, their ears straining for any commotion that can be heard within the palace. They both fidget and wait hour by hour. And then there is noise. Shouting. Is that the sound of metal? It's getting louder. They both stand. They both approach the door that leads to the corridor. And stepping out slowly, they're soon greeted by the sight of a man hurtling along the corridor towards them. He is pursued by a horde of guards waving their swords and charging after him. Tia is alarmed. Will this assassin reveal their involvement? She nudges Pebenham. Do something. Make sure he does not talk, or it'll be our throats that shall be cut. Pebenham withdraws a dagger and steps towards the assassin as he hurtles towards them. The assassin slows, seeing the dagger in Pebenham's hand, but it's too late. Debenham steps forward rapidly and stabs him in the chest. They both slide to the floor as the guards surround them. But from within the crowd, a figure parts them. It is Queen Tai. She looks down upon the body, blood-stained body of the assassin. And at the two, Pevenham and Tia. Arrest these two for conspiracy to kill the king. Well, the trial, if you can call it a trial, is really just a series of executions, with the two accused in place. Everybody else just kills over. No matter who they were tortured. Some, mostly, were executed in horrendous ways. Some, with more higher rank and able to barter, just had their noses cut off. Others, those closer to the conspiracy, were forced to take their life. And as the last two stood before Ramesses III to enact his final judgment on the two main bodies, he shows great anger and disappointment at these two close confidants. Pevenham is left screaming, for he is no noble, so he shall just be beheaded and burnt with no afterlife. But for the royal wife, she of noble birth, father of one of his children, her only avenue is to take poison. Great first royal wife, Tai, standing beside her husband, the king, holds up the vial of poison and takes it down the steps to where Tia kneels, trying very hard to not cry or show any emotion, to make you strong to the very end. But her hands are too weak, too shaky to take the poison. So Tia, got Queen Tai, kneels beside her and pours the poison into her mouth. As Tia's breathing begins to struggle and the poison does its work, Queen T whispers, "Thank you for the diversion. It was me in disguise that taught you how to use those dolls. They are good, aren't they? You have diverted attention away from my part in the death of the king. For I have similar views to you. He must go. And my son will take the throne years ahead of his time, and me as regent. And he will die by my hand tonight. Sweet dreams, my queen."
What sass? What absolute brutality! I love it. Ooh, it's like a drama. I mean, pretty much everything Egyptian I've found. And I'm sorry if this is too much of a generalization, but there are some amazing stories. There are some amazing stories. Do you know how Cleopatra like got herself to stand in front of Caesar? She mailed herself in a carpet. Yeah. Don't mess with Egyptian women. They get stuff done. They really, really do. And yeah, Kev, you're right in the comments. Games in games. Awesome. I love it. And I love that it's all about conspiracy and it's all about this idea of murdering those who are in charge. Yes, thank you so much, Kev. That was amazing. You had me on the edge of my seat, and it's not the first time I've watched that because I have the privilege of watching it before. But I'm going to quickly again throw the donation link because I am never going to let anybody forget this. There's the donation link. I'm throwing the donation link into the comment section as we start to round the show to an end. I know. I don't do these often enough. So when they come to an end, I feel very, very sad. I love spending this time with you guys live, but also in the future when you're watching back on this, the comments that you guys leave, just I absolutely love it. So thank you for watching tonight live or tonight, today, this morning, when you're watching it in the future. But we do have a couple of more shares. We have a couple more shares left. Don't worry. And also before that, big. Ooh, I'm nervous. I'm suddenly nervous. Ooh, I have an announcement to make. Right? This year, I've done less share shows than I have in other years, albeit because now we have lives outside of the internet for the first time in 2 years, and it's a lot to balance. But I do feel like I would like to do more. And in fact, although we have done less live shows for the Happiness Anonymous Share Show, this isn't something that is unbeknownst to some people. But I would like to announce that the next project that the Happiness Anonymous Share Show is releasing, because they've been working on it for a few months, is a recipe book. And basically, everybody who's ever contributed to the Share Show, I reached out to them earlier this year and I asked them for recipes for the soul. I wanted to create a cookbook because what we've seen as a result of the war in Ukraine is, especially here in the UK and also around the world, we have seen an escalated level of food poverty, an escalated level of food insecurity. And that is sad. One of my favorite things in the world is food. I also had the privilege, the utter privilege, to be working with a community centre, JW3 in North London, who had an amazing food bank that they opened in a response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns and the difficulties that brought to their community as well as the community surrounding them. And I had the amazing privilege of working with this food bank and seeing the actual need and seeing the need not just of the people, but the need of the operational team. And I was totally inspired by the team at JW3. And I thought when they were going through times trying to figure out how to navigate and be successful, I thought, well, what's the one thing I can do? And then I remembered the Share Show. I remembered Happiness Anonymous, and I remembered the spirit of this. So I reached out to everybody and I said, let's put together a recipe book for the soul. And I can tell you now, everybody in the comments who's actually contributed to it has gone, oh yeah, I remember doing that. Yeah, you remember doing that way back when. Apparently, making a cookbook is hard. It is so much more effort than you think it is. But that means I'm extra excited and quite nervous to say that the share book, the Happiness Anonymous recipe book for the soul is coming out in time for Christmas, and I can actually share it for you here. Where's the share button? There's the share button. There you go. There is the front cover. the current draft of the front cover. This is literally the last thing that I have to do is finalize this artwork, and then it goes to print. And because we are that close to going to print, I'm actually opening pre-orders. So here you go. If you go to the link that is currently being posted into the comments section, you can actually pre-order your copy of Happiness Anonymous Recipes for the Soul. Now, what the hell does that mean? What the hell does the Recipes for the Soul mean? In the book, we have amazing, amazing food recipes. I have tried all of them. They are good food for the soul. But there is also not just food in there. There are recipes for how to get a good night's sleep. There are recipes for a great night in with your other half. There are bits of art. There are friggin' hilarious recipes. All I said was write a recipe for anything that you want to do, but also just, make it sort of format like a recipe. And I have laughed, I have cried, I have had a full stomach, I have a good night's sleep, I have had some really nice Zen moments in the green grasses of the land. That sounds like I did something that I didn't do. I mean, I literally went out into the grass on the outside of the building. Whoops, that's going to be an outtake. But Happiness Anonymous Recipes for the Soul, it is out. All profits go towards food banks. That's the big thing. And by profits, I mean literally everything except the printing costs. I've done the work for free. Everybody else has contributed for free. I've also teamed up with the absolutely amazing Allographic Press in order to really do this properly. We have an ISBN number. Waterstones can buy this from us. It's terribly exciting in the crazy eyes kind of way. So get yourself a copy. You can pre-order also, because we are doing a pre-order as part of that up until November. So if you order via this link that I've just put into the comment section, anytime within the month of November, you will get your copy of Recipes for the Soul with a little personalized note from myself. There you go. It's a little incentive. It'll be a little bit personal, a little bit lovely. But yes, please do. And actually, as a little bit of a background to moving into this idea of food banks, there's a little bit of a video from JW3 that I wanted to share that kind of gives an insight into at least what JW3 do as a food bank. But it very much works the same with a lot of other food banks. So here's just a little feel-good video about food banks and the need for them.
JW3 transforms lives through community. What do I mean by that? Well, one of our core values is chesed. That's loving kindness. That's doing physical acts to help make people's lives better. We were doing that way before lockdown, but during the whole pandemic, it became a critical part of our work.
When lockdown happened and JW3 had to close its doors to the public, we weren't immediately sure of what we could do that would be helpful. And what we discovered was that actually there was a huge need for people in the surrounding area and a little further afield, people that were isolating, that couldn't go out to get their own food or were unable to cook for themselves. And so JW3 looked to see how we can step up to really fulfill the need to help anyone that finds themselves in food poverty. In under 24 hours, we managed to take about 4.5 tons of food from Arsenal Football Club and repackage it and get it out to the people that really need it.
This is a package from JW3.
Thanks.
Big thank you very much.
So thank you to JW3 for your food. It'll be well appreciated in the community.
We started off small and we were just cooking meals in our demo kitchen here with a team of volunteers for around 30 people. Now we're sending out over 1,000 meals in terms of both cooking and the food packages every single week.
I'm happy to do it. And I've had a couple of friends come in with me to do it as well, other young boys like me. So I think, yeah, it's a great thing to do, and I'm glad that we can do something to give back.
It's all for a good cause. A really good cause, and it's quite fun to see what you can come up with in a few hours.
Fix yourself, fix the relationship around you, and then do the best to fix the world. So this is pretty much all three in one.
Having social action be a core part of what JW3 is and believes in has really helped us to step up into this brilliant role where we've become a beacon of light to the surrounding area and the Jewish community as a whole.
To see that this building hasn't just stood empty whilst this is going on. And it's not just the people that receive the food that get something from it. It's this community of 50, 60 volunteers that have come week in, week out to cook together, to schlep together, to pack bags together, to drive and deliver food together. They're all doing it together, and they come from different parts of the community, but they have this thing in common that they're doing, these acts of loving kindness.
And there you go. That is the place that inspired the recipes for the soul. The profits from the sales of the of Happiness Anonymous recipes for the soul, which is just exciting to think that that's a real thing now. They won't just be going to JW3. They will be going to food banks all across the country. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it all across the world. I've got big ideas. So the more copies we can sell, the more we can generate funds that can go towards helping people get out of food insecurity. Because if there's one thing that affects negatively our mental health, it's when we are hangry, or when we're food insecure and don't really know how to get out of that place of hangry, really. Because it's heartbreaking, and there's a lot of shame, and there's a lot of horrible emotions that go alongside with it, and this idea of asking for help. So let's not wait to be asked. Let's go and help, which is what we're doing tonight, and it's what we're doing for Ukraine. So again, if you're feeling in a very donation spirit, there in the comment section again is the link to donate for people in Ukraine, all of the funds that we raised from tonight's show. And over the next month of November, it's a big month for us here at Happiness Anonymous. But donate to Ukraine, and our fund here, it's all going towards the DEC's Ukrainian Humanitarian Fund, and I wish I never had a lisp or a speech impediment to get over to say these words, but please do. And again, if you pre-order on the link for the Happiness Anonymous Recipes for the Soul, you'll not only be donating to food banks, but you'll also get a special handwritten note from me, and you'll also see that the book is full of doodles and scribbles and illustrations by moi, so you might just get your own personalized little illustration as well. There you go. There's the big announcement. The cat's out of the bag. I can finally talk about the thing that has been taking up all of my time. It feels good. It feels good. To continue the feel-good vibes, we have one last share. Yep, we have one last share. I have saved not the best to last. They're all bloody brilliant, frankly. You're all bloody brilliant. There you go. There's the British coming out of me. But the last share, when I sat and thought about how we can present all of these shares around bonfire night, around Guy Fawks, around what we're wanting to do right now, which is sit around a fire and warm ourselves up, I thought, well, how do those nights always go? You know, we sit and we eat, we sit and we tell stories, and we talk and we share thoughts, and we get into political debates or just debates. How do those nights always end? Some of you might have figured it out. Yeah, those nights always end with a song, because somebody, whether it's a guitar or a ukulele or just a song, the more you start drinking and sitting around a fire, the more you just want to sing and chant. And that is very much how I want to end this share show. We opened with Shannon's amazing playlist of anger and something you can, quote unquote, punch Nazis in the face with. Because her descriptions as well, just like click on the link for the playlist, because the description of the playlist is worth it. we started with a playlist of songs, and we're going to end with a lovely cover of a song by Ilya. So the song's not actually by Ilya. Ilya is doing the cover. The song is called. Yep, it's time for me to go off air. The song is called "World Turned Upside Down." It's the Diggers song, and it's by Dick Gohan. I really should have checked this before I came on live on air. Yeah, I should go offline. But it was made famous by Billy Bragg, and we are playing this to close out the show because Ilya is amazing, and I just felt really great. And thank you so much for being with me live. Thank you. Hello, Brian Lee. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody in the comments. It's been wonderful to sit with you tonight and play with you tonight and share with you some amazing things. Here is a song from Ilya. I'll be right back at the end. And this should play properly. I do apologize if YouTube, the wonderful platform by which we are putting this forward, if YouTube kills the stream or cuts out the audio, I'm sorry, it's not me, it's not Ilya, it is the copyright lawyers who are doing a really good job, but hopefully it just demonetizes this video, and that's okay. But here you go. Here it is, the Diggers song, performed to you by Ilya.
In 1649, St. George's Hill, a ragged band they called the Diggers came to show the people's will. They defied the landlords, they defied the laws. They were the dispossessed brick. We come in peace, they said, to dig and sow. We come to work the land in common and to make the wastelands grow. This earth divided we will make whole, so it can be a common treasury for all. The sin of property we do disdain. No man has any right to buy and sell the earth for private gain. By theft and murder they took the land. Now everywhere the walls spring up at their command. They make the laws to chain us well. The clergy dazzle us with heaven, or they damn us into hell. We will not worship the God they serve, the God of greed who feeds the rich while poor men starve. We work, we eat together, we no swords. We will not bow down to the masters or pay rent to the lords. We are free men, though we are poor. You diggers all stand up for glory, stand up now. From the men of property, the orders came. They sent the hired men and troopers to wipe out the diggers' claim, tear down their cottages, destroy their corn. They were dispersed, but still the vision lingers on. You poor take courage, you rich take care. This earth was made a common treasury for everyone to share. All things in common, all people one. We come in peace, the orders came to cut them down.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Yes, I grabbed my ukulele. Ilya and I are uke buddies. I grabbed my ukulele. I am definitely going to be that person who turns around at all of the bonfires this season and says, let's do a ukulele song. Because she's new. She's called Yuki, the ukulele. So thank you so much, Ilya. What a perfect close. And what a lovely close, Tom. You are definitely right. Thank you, everybody. You have been so generous with your shares. You've been so generous with donations to help those who are displaced due to the Ukrainian war. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Keep yourself generous, keep yourself joyful, and have an amazing, amazing, and safe bonfire and fireworks season. Keep rebelling in your heart, and enjoy. Thank you so much. Keep donating. Buy a recipe book. Have a great night. I'm giving you lists of things to do. Either way, have a good one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.